Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of December 16th. Before we get started, just got a couple news items, I guess you call them, want to touch on here. So we're on the north side here, and there's Warner Park. In Warner Park is the Warner Park Lagoon. The Warner Park Lagoon dumps out into Lake Mendota. Where it dumps out there is a little spot that is a really popular local spot where panfish move in. It's a little, I guess you might call it a outlet here, and it's been silted in the last few years. So the city came in this week and was in there dredging this out. So it's a good to see that. It, like I said, it was so shallow that there weren't many fish holding in there. But in the springtime, a lot of panfish move in this area. It's a great fishing spot, really year round. You really never know what you might find in there. It was in spots just a couple inches deep, and now they've dredged that down 2 or 3 feet. Once the water levels come back up, you should have close to 4 feet of water in there, maybe more. So thanks to the city for doing that. This is part of a greater project to improve the Warner Park Lagoon. You can see here, this is a carp gate that blocks carp from getting through that outlet into the Warner Park Lagoon. It helps preserve the plants and spawning fish that get up in there, because carp can be pretty destructive that way. But that's a project I've been involved with for many years, and with a bunch of local folks. And so, yeah, it's good to see some of this stuff moving forward. And again, thanks to the city for dredging that out. Hopefully it'll hold more fish here in the spring. The other thing I wanted to touch on was that the DNR is asking folks to report mud puppy observations, I guess catches in this case. Mud puppies are Wisconsin's only fully aquatic salamander, and they do live in the Madison chain. I've caught, I think, 2 in my years fishing around here. They're cool animals, kind of creepy looking, but if you catch one, the DNR is asking you to take a photo and report it. Here they have a website. You can just Google, DNR mud puppy reporting. So if you catch a mud puppy, take a picture of it and let the DNR know. It'll help them get an idea of their numbers out here. I guess as far as shop news goes, last night we had Jim Kasuda in doing his presentation on using Vexilar FL30 and horizontal scanning sonar to locate perch on the Madison chain. It was very informative. Jim, of course, is a pro for Vexilar and clam. Really knows what he's doing, especially when it comes to electronics and chasing perch. So he gave a great talk. Thanks to Jim for coming out and doing that, and thanks to everybody that came by the shop. It's a good time. One other thing I want to touch on with, we've had sketchy ice off and on since before Thanksgiving. Looks like now this next week we got some cold weather coming, but want to encourage everybody to be safe when they're out there on the ice. So some things you can do to help with that: safety spikes. Carry these over your shoulders in the event you go through. You can, poke your way out of the ice and hook onto the ice and pull yourself out. Spud bar, always a pretty good idea if you're on thin ice to test the ice thickness ahead of yourself. Also, just a simple seat cushion style life preserver. A lot of folks, when they're pan fishing, just sit on their knees, and this can make a nice cushion for that, or on a bucket, but it also can double as a life preserver. And you never know when something like that can come in handy. The other thing I wanted to touch on was a new product we have here at the shop. It's called a J Rope. It's by J Outdoors. They're a local-ish company. I can't remember. I think they're out of Michigan, actually. Anyway, they make this J Rope. It's a harness that is a braided rope, like a climbing rope. It's a harness that you can put over your shoulders to help tow your sled. I have the website here. They've got, you can see some pictures here. Use it to tow your sled out comfortably around your shoulders. You can modify it so 2 people can tow a sled. It's held together by these carabiners, and so while having something to tow a sled out is great, it also doubles as a toss rope in the event that somebody goes through. So they've got a little video here. I just put it here, and I guess we'll see how this recording goes. Um, but yeah, you just pull the carabiner apart, and the rope just easily pulls out. It's got 30 feet of rope. So there you go. It's a cool thing, I think. Neat invention. And they have instructions, I believe, to rebraid it, or you can send it to them and they'll rebraid it for you if in the event you have to throw it out. Um, so yeah, I just want everybody to be safe out there, and we got some ice coming now on the way. It sounds like so. Yeah, just want to encourage folks to be careful out there. Um, so speaking of, I guess we'll get into the report. We had some warm weather this week. Really beat up the ice on Cherokee. There was, I know, one person went through Sunday, three people went through Monday, three people went through Tuesday. I don't know if anybody was fishing on Wednesday, but Cherokee's been uh, some pretty sketchy ice now with all the snow we got on top. It's probably not in great shape today, but cold weather coming this weekend and all next week looks like it should start locking things up locally. Again, I don't have a Mendota buoy report that's shut down for the year, but I've been hearing about low temps, water temps in the low 30s around the chain. But like I said, Cherokee not fishable right now. The 113 bridge, I have been hearing about. That's open water in that current there, and folks have still been getting some walleyes in there. We got on Lake Mendota, of course, no fishable ice out there, but some folks that are able to get out in boats are still getting walleyes, having great action on some of the mid lake humps, and so Dunn's Bar, Brearley Bars, Second Point, Commodore Bar, all those spots, but also shallow shore anglers have been doing really well. So along the university shoreline, up to Tenney Park Breakwall, Warner Park Breakwall. Um, those have all been good spots on Lake Mendota. Lake Monona has also had some great walleye action along the city shoreline, John Nolan Drive area, Olin Park. Muskie anglers are also still doing well out there if you can get a boat out. So, there's still opportunities to catch fish, but there's just not a lot of great ice. Speaking of ice, I did hear that a lot of Monona Bay, at least in the triangles, was kind of skimmed over. I don't know what that looks like today and after this snow, but it's definitely not safe for fishing. But shouldn't take long once we get this cold weather to come in to lock everything up. On Lake Wingra, of course, good muskie action. I'm not sure the ice status out there either, but if you can get out there and cast, there's some hungry muskies out there. Haven't heard a lot coming out of Wabisa. Um, the Babcock launch down here is the only launch in the area that still has a pier in. So if you're looking to launch somewhere, you can, of course, access Lake Wabisa that way, but also get up into Lake Monona. So if you're looking for a comfortable place to launch, otherwise the other launches are still open. They just don't have piers. Been hearing about some muskie action down here on Lake Wabisa. Haven't heard much specific in the way of walleye or anything else. Just not a lot of people fishing in this kind of transition period before ice. Same thing down to Lake Hugonza. I haven't really heard much, but if you can launch a boat, I imagine you maybe get some walleyes out from the state park. Yeah, so I guess not much to report locally. I have heard down to Lake Koshkonong. They had some of these back bays down here had ice on them, just like Cherokee did. I'm sure that ice got sketchy this week, but again, it won't be long before that locks up. I have been hearing about some walleye in some deeper holes from Lake Koshkonong all the way up to Jefferson. So, if you can get a boat in there or maybe from shore, get some walleye action down there. Up to the river at Prairie du Sac Dam, still been hearing about some walleye and sauger coming out of there. Um, Decent muskie action from the dam down to the Highway 12 bridge. Up on Lake Wisconsin. Haven't heard much specifically out of the lake there, but some action over here in the Fingers. They had ice. I, again, don't know what that ice is looking like today, but it was sketchy last week, so I'm imagining it's not great today. But again, just like everywhere else, this cold weather is going to come through. All this water's nice and cold now, so that's going to lock right back up. Got the grade up here. That should lock up to one of the first places to go. Upstream Haven't heard much out of Portage. I guess I have been hearing about some decent walleye action upstream of the Dells. So if you can get a boat in there, um, some good walleye action in the deeper holes near breaks. Course up the river here, Castle Rock Dam, same thing as Prairie du Sac Dam. Good chance for walleyes in there, mixed bag of fish. You never really know what's going to be in there. I did hear about some ice in the shallow areas of Castle Rock and Pettenwell this last week, but that's also sketchy. But should lock up again here soon. So fingers crossed for those colder temps and some ice here pretty quick. Over to the Mississippi, I've been hearing about some ice over on the backwaters. I know they were getting some fish up in the La Crosse area and some of these backwater shallow areas. Also down to Trempealeau, the Stoddard area. Some backwaters down there have been holding fish. I even heard about fish way down near Cassville in some of the backwaters. But again, I'm not recommending anybody check that until we get some of this cold weather come through. Over to Milwaukee, haven't heard much in the way of steelhead specifically, but there are fish up in those rivers, and there's also fish out in the harbors to be caught. I've been hearing about some lake trout actually jigging out there in the harbor areas, maybe just beyond the gap they call it out there. Also, burbot fishing in the Port Washington area I've heard has been pretty good. So burbot's kind of an unusual fish, but not a lot of people target them, but I hear they can be delicious. Poor man's lobster, they call it. So yeah, there's those opportunities up through the whole East Coast over here. Green Bay, great opportunities for walleyes and some big muskies out there. But really not a lot going on as far as fishing. It's that, like I said, weird transition period. 22 more days until trout season opens. So we'll be talking about that before you know it. But if you get the itch, you can always go over to Iowa. Devil's Lake has trout that are fun to catch through the ice. I doubt that ice is anywhere near safe today, but it should lock up quick with these cold temps. So again, that's really the theme of the report today is think ice and be safe, and post your comments and catches below in the below here for the social media. And yeah, we'll talk next week, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about in the way of ice. Thanks for tuning in, and be safe out there. Take care.